Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Future Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Juliette Lamar, and joining me today is Mike Mothner. He is the founder and CEO at Wpromote. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. I am super glad to virtually be here.
So, you guys have a lot going on over at Wpromote. Why don't you give our listeners a little insight into who you are, what your company does?
Yeah, we do have a lot going on. So, Wpromote, basically, we're a digital agency, and what we really think about what that means for our clients is we help drive customer acquisition and growth, right? So I think if you asked a customer or a client of ours what we do, they would say, well, they help us acquire customers using digital channels, helped fuel our business, and hopefully words like partner would come out a lot more than agency, although I guess technically we are an agency. The clients that we really kind of focus on that we find are kind of this, what we call the sweet spot would be what we define as challenger brands. So these are usually, companies that are not the 800-pound gorilla that have in their industry that have some traction in the market. They've got something that's working, product, service, wide variety of industries, and they're looking to scale it and to profitably grow. And so it was kind of a mouthful, but that is kind of from a 30,000-foot view what we're doing, and then we have lots of little pieces that help us get that done.
And what really sets you apart from other agencies or partnerships, I would say, in this space?
Yeah, so, it's interesting. I think that, listen, we're in an incredibly busy space. There's small agencies and boutique and vertical specific and humongous global monoliths and everything in the middle, and there are vendors and consultancies. So there's, it's a really messy space in that sense. There's lots and lots of overlap. I think what makes us unique is, one, we really partner to be an extension of an internal marketing team. So, when I think about traditional agency relationships, historical agency relationships, you have this, this external group that kind of goes off and comes up with ideas or creates campaigns and kind of comes back and, shows you a graph that miraculously goes up and to the right. And some CMOs I talk to are like, hey, my worst nightmare is I have 5 agencies and they all come in once a month and show me a graph that goes up and to the right. But that's not where my business is going. And so it feels like this big disconnect. I think we, in that sense, try to be the unagency, right? That we work very closely. We're sort of an elastic extension of an internal team that is, inherently bandwidth strapped and looking to do a lot more than they can. And then we're that literally that business partner in driving growth through the things that we do, which is paid search and social media and SEO and email marketing and creative and so forth.
Very cool. Do you have some use cases you want to share with us that really are inspiring to you?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll share kind of like a couple of kind of what I think of the buckets of the types of engagements we might have, right? So one would be the, kind of traditional fast-growing startup, maybe like a born online brand that's really looking to scale and grow. So Zenni Optical, which is their competitor Warby Parker, they started sort of out of a garage. They're now, several $100 million in revenue and growing very rapidly. And we were like the partner to drive that growth. A second example would be businesses going through transformation. So retail is a great example of this, right? So you have a company like Papyrus who sells physical greeting cards and in paper products in retail, right? That's a doubly, triply challenging world to live in, and we're helping really transform their business and allowing digital marketing to help them help support all their retail, but actually help them survive and thrive in their own right. And then sometimes it'll be very large organizations, and we're coming in to help them solve specific problems. So, we do SEO for Home Depot. They have lots and lots of agencies globally doing lots of things, and we're solving particular problems. But those are kind of maybe 3, as you said, use cases of different DNA of companies, but and kind of the way that we slot in and hopefully provide a lot of impact.
What are some of the most important things that businesses need to focus on when they are, gaining some traction, but they still need more? What are some, the pitfalls you see companies take?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I'd say this one of the single biggest, and I don't even know if you'd call it necessarily a pitfall, but sort of missed opportunity, or when they get this, it becomes transformative, is really understanding the value of your customer. So you'll hear terms like lifetime value. It doesn't literally have to be a lifetime, but that there's so much marketing is the efficacy of it is measured at what happens at the moment of transaction, right? I do a search, I buy something today and I spent $50 and so my value is $50. Well, when you are able to shift that thinking to no, that was just hopefully the first of a sequence of purchases or interactions that have a lot of value, it changes the value of the way you think about a customer, which changes the amount you're willing to invest to acquire a customer, and it literally changes the whole mechanics of the business. That is one of these from-to shifts that when you do it, it really changes not just your marketing, but the way that you think about growth of the business. And the interesting thing is most companies have not done that. They really don't have it. They might not really know what the customer is worth, right, over a longer period of time. And, that's why we have a data science team trying to crunch numbers and look at customer data and figure out churn and lots of complex stuff, because when you do that, it just kind of overnight changes the lens through which you view all of the business decisions you make.
Absolutely. And as a customer, I love to hear that. Yes. Make me happy.
Yeah, exactly. And it means that you don't look at it and you're forced to assume that all your customers have the same value, right? Like if I can identify in advance that somebody appears to be likely to be a really, really valuable customer, then I want to work harder to find them and bring them in. And a customer that looks like I can identify and predict that they're most likely going to buy once and never again because of whatever reason, then I probably don't want to spend my marketing dollars finding them. And that's when we get there, that's a really exciting place to be.
And I think that customers really appreciate that as well. As you know, we want to be treated like if we are a special customer, we know we like that brand. We know that we're going to be a recurring customer. And it's really nice to be acknowledged by that company to see that they see us. They see us. They see that we're a valuable customer, and they see that we are different than the other customers. That feels good when you're buying.
It does. And what's interesting too, and I think most, this probably goes back to what makes you different from an agency perspective or marketing partner perspective, is so much of marketing is geared on bringing new customers in the door. And sometimes what is missed when that's the focus, the singular focus, is that nurturing a customer that has purchased once to purchase a second time through great customer service or shipping a product quickly or just the product itself, just telling the story or whatever it is, that experience that gets them from purchase 1 to 2, that is many times more valuable and more necessary to a company than acquiring a new customer for the first time, right? That if I can get over that hump of the second purchase, I'm really likely to make it to the third or fifth or 10th purchase. And so thinking a lot about that, I think, is not what we usually think of as marketing, but it's something that we at Wpromote, we think about a lot, because we realize I don't really care about my goal is ultimately to help grow the business, and if I grow the business through turning good customers into great customers, that's as valuable as just throwing a bunch of new leads in the door.
And it's all about trust. The customers want to trust the company, and the company wants to trust that their customers are going to come back. And then you build this community and this relationship, because most of us are very busy. We don't have time to try out a bunch of different things. We don't want to buy one product here, one product there, one product there. We want to just keep going to the same place and buying a product that we trust and we know that is also recognizing us. So it's a really great way of handling it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's you can, when you get that, what we'll call customer centricity, it really changes the lens of the business. It really kind of turns you into less of a company focused on sales and to one that's focused on delivering, great experience. And that is a lot more rewarding for organizations as well when they really can make that shift.
Absolutely. And I think that you've probably seen the longevity it creates for a business just by switching your mindset.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's great for the business. It's great for the customer. I mean, it's great for the aura of the brand digitally. It's great for, it sort of has this ripple effect that's really pronounced.
So give us a little background about yourself. How did you come to find yourself as the founder and CEO at Wpromote?
Yeah, it's funny. My parents are both teachers, so I don't know where sort of the entrepreneurial thing came from, but I always had it. I mean, when I was 12 years old, I would, had a car wash business, and I was like the neighborhood babysitting kid. And I think one time I threw a garage sale while my parents were actually out of town, and I sold a bunch of their stuff, and they didn't like that, but I did give them a cut of the money when they came back. But yeah, I just always loved business. I think the money was a measuring stick, but I just sort of liked it. To me, that was my version of creating. I think artists may paint, and for me, that was kind of producing something that I found interesting and problem solving, and business became the lens. So had gotten into computers as a teenager. When I was 14, wrote software programs, put them on AOL back in the day, and then in college, kind of instead of a traditional college job, I was building people's websites. This is like 99, 2000. And I kept delivering websites and, for, local real estate agents and attorneys and whatnot. And they would say, well, what do I do with it now? Like, now that I have a website? And today we'd obviously say, oh, well, you should market it and do all these wonderful things. That wasn't really obvious back then. And so that question that I kept not really having the answer for gave birth to Wpromote. And I had owned the domain name because I bought some .com names. I thought I'd get rich off those. That didn't work. But I owned Wpromote. I thought it was kind of catchy and short, and so in 2001, Wpromote launched out of the dorm room at Dartmouth, and was in the very beginning, the first incarnation, it was a $10 per month service to submit all of your website to all of the search engines at the time. And I think back then there was, in my list, I had about 200, and that was the very, very, very beginning. And about 2 years later, when I graduated, I came very close to stopping my little at-home or, in the dorm room business that was kind of like lucrative pizza money business, but wasn't really sure where it could go, and almost went to New York and became an investment banker, and ended up, after a very awkward interview question, I realized that wasn't for me, and I came home and said, well, let me see if I can turn this into something that's bigger, and if I can't, I'm sure that I can always go back and get some sort of job. So that was the early days.
Well, good for you for following your gut and really staying true to yourself through this whole process.
Yeah, it's funny. I look back. It wasn't that hard back then. I think I look back now and it seems a little crazier because I don't know, probably older and less risk averse, but that's kind of the beauty of those early days is you're able to kind of go with your gut and not with what is the responsible thing or what is the what makes sense in the spreadsheet, and that's I think that's kind of what drives a lot of those early entrepreneurial decisions of just kind of, hey, this feels good and it feels like it's going to be fun and I'm excited about it, and so let's do what I'm excited about.
No, absolutely. So, advertising is changing so quickly. We're seeing, just in the last 6 months, as just a regular person out here, I'm seeing, such an uptick in Instagram ads that I see on my feed, and such an uptick on Facebook ads. And, ads are really, I feel like they're really evolving quickly. And I was just wondering, which ones are the most effective? Are people really seeing, a lot of increased sales from like Instagram and Facebook and those kind of social media ads?
Yeah. So interestingly, the social media advertising on Facebook and really Instagram as the bigger driver in the last 12 to 18 months than Facebook as sort of a less mature but faster growing platform. The short answer is that people are interacting and purchasing. It's funny. Sometimes I'll look over at my wife as like a focus group of one, and she'll be laying there in bed, and she's actually like discovery shopping on Instagram, which is fascinating. Which is really
yeah, I do that too.
And actually makes you. We've made travel decisions, or at least we've been introduced to places to visit, and then done our other research or products through that. So interestingly, it does work. I'd say in terms of behind the scenes, like from the marketer perspective, the thing that works the best is when it's what we refer to as audience-driven marketing. So instead of saying, I want to reach somebody that's, 25 to 30, that's a female in California, those are fairly challenging too. They don't work as well, interestingly. What actually works is when you can take your actual customers, your past customers, you take their like email addresses, their information, you put them into Facebook, and then it matches to people that are behaviorally similar, right? So it doesn't mean that they're the same age or gender or location, but it means that it looks at billions and trillions of signals and identifies people that they think are likely to act similarly to that group, right? It's kind of like how Google AlphaGo learns to play chess. It doesn't even know what it's playing, but it's sort of, you feed it a bunch of stuff and it figures out its own path. And it's, for those kind of the nerdy group here, like this is what machine learning is one of the areas it's been the most impactful for in AI, but we never see as consumers. But what we end up seeing is just an oddly pretty good targeted ad that showed up in my feed, and actually, wow, I do have a 10-month-old at home, and that is a high chair that looks good. Like those moments are not so much brilliant marketing as really smart computing.
And I really love that our world, pockets of our world are moving past like the box checking. It's not like, oh, we need a California girl, ages 25 to 30 to buy our skincare products. Age doesn't matter as much because people are living longer, people's mindsets are broader, young people are acting more mature or older people are acting more young. And I feel like that bleeding together of those demographics is really neat. And I love how you're saying it's more behavioral based other than, gender or age based. Yeah,
no, it's so interesting. And it's why that marketing, picking your typical traditional like media buying, hey, I got to reach 18 to 28-year-old men. That the reason that doesn't work is exactly what you're describing. It's funny. A buddy of mine just bought. He's a millennial, right? He's like early 30s, and he just bought a company that does motorhome campsites. So if you're on a road trip and you want to park it like a winery or a cool farmhouse, it's like this listing for it, right? And his demographics are both millennials and retired people and the baby boomers, and they're like very, very different people that are both falling into this very similar like love of the outdoors and exploration and cutting off from technology and so forth. So, a traditional view of the world would have really had a hard time reconciling that from a marketing perspective, and that, I think that's just, I just love that example of how our assumptions would be wildly wrong about these either diverging or kind of people breaking the mold of what they should. Millennials shouldn't be driving motorhomes, right? Like that breaks the perception that we would all have, and yet it's this like exploding the demographic for them.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that it's breaking the molds. And you think about, I'm visualizing that campground where, we have the baby boomers and the millennials, and they've driven up their Airstreams or their, camper trailers, and they're all sitting around the campfire and they're all having a great conversation. And really, I think the eyes of people are also changing. They're not looking at the baby boomers thinking, oh, these people are like my parents. They're thinking, oh, this person's a person I can talk to, and we have similar interests. And it's also like a mindset change.
Yeah, it's interesting. And, I think that's a great example where technology brings us together, right? It allows people with common interests to connect in ways that are really exciting and fun. And, listen, there's you read the news, you can't help but conclude that technology is bad, right? And that we're all, it's sucking us in, and we're in there. So there's lots of negative, and all of those things, many of those things are totally valid. But, I love finding these moments of, hey, I discovered a new place I never would have discovered without Instagram, and I was introduced to a product that I now love, or I'm in a campsite having a great conversation next to somebody that I never would have connected with. Like those are pretty special moments, and you don't get to read about those in the news because that's not what sells. But I do find it gratifying nevertheless.
Definitely. So, Mike, where's the best place for people to connect with you, to find out more about Wpromote, and to get started if they want to start being a challenger?
Yeah, for sure. So Wpromote.com, we have a bunch of stuff up. We actually have, we're throwing our first Challenger Summit September 24th and 25th in LA for kind of brands and marketers looking to grow, and it'll be an awesome day and a half with lots of stuff. I respond to every email I get, and I'm at Twitter at Mothner, and I'm at Mike at Wpromote.com, and happy to meet. We're headquartered in LA. We've got 8 offices around the country, and if it doesn't come across, we really love what we do, and we're excited about helping. We get inspired when we get to help companies kind of grow and accomplish and hopefully beat their goals and sort of acquire and grow and hire, and that sort of like ecosystem is what gets us excited to get out of bed in the morning. So I'd love to hear from your audience and really enjoy connecting with everyone.
Fantastic. Mike, thank you so much for joining us here today, and we're looking forward to many more wonderful things coming out of Wpromote.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That is Mike Mothner. He is the founder and CEO of Wpromote. Again, their website is Wpromote.com. This has been Juliette Lamar of Future Tech Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.